Have West Ham had a good transfer window? Well, that's up to you to decide. I think we have. I think Aller's fantastic, Fornals looks great, and, well, the other is just really squad padding, and it looks like Cardoso may well sign, or may well have signed by the time I've uploaded this video today. Would possibly expect somebody else to come in as well. But is it the type of business that many thought it would be after Aller had signed? I do remember after he signed, lots of people got very, very excited. I was excited. I've wanted this player for quite a long time. But there was a lot of talk that maybe this could help us push up to the top six. Maybe Manchester United weren't thought to be doing that well. And at the time, Arsenal, many thought they were there maybe for the taking. Well, since we've signed him, they've both spent big. Very big, in fact, and it looks as if they're not going to stop spending. So I would think that sort of top six is sewn up. So that leaves us with 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, that sort of thing. And whilst I think we've done good business, I think we've done good business which will stop us from getting worse, which will enable us to stand still. It's sort of treading water business. And that's not to criticise the club or the players that we've spent money on, but we're going to stand still because Everton have spent good money and done some good things, as have Leicester. Although Leicester obviously sold a player, I think they can replace Maguire with somebody equally capable without having even to spend the 85 million they have. They've got a ton of money, rich owners, Leicester, and as I say, Everton have done well. Wolves seem to be buying players, so I think it's a status quo, but certainly the top six is out of the question. What is nice from my point of view, and what does seem to be exciting from a West Ham point of view, is this team that Pellegrini is putting together. And the team seems to be heavily based on a lot of flair players in the team. And we could all get excited about Fornals, quite right too. We get excited about Anderson, Wilshere playing just behind, and of course Lanzini knitting it all together. And this is really what the video is about, because whilst we may have been looking at these signings coming in, a sort of story has not slipped under the radar, but has gone onto the back burner. And it's a story of Lanzini only having what I think is 11 months left on his contract. Now, you might remember the story. The club think they have a 2-year option. Lanzini, I don't think Lanzini's representatives think that it's particularly watertight, particularly legal. I think they feel that they can challenge it. I think they've certainly indicated that they will challenge it. So certainly the club and Lanzini's representatives are at loggerheads. Now, at the best case scenario, then actually it is a 2-year option and he has to stay. But even in those circumstances, do we have a happy player on our hands? No, we don't, because we're forcing him. At worst case scenario, he has 11 months. What we have to do is we have to sign this guy now, and we have to give him the contract that he feels he deserves and that we can afford to give him. Because in my opinion, he's our best player. This is the guy that is going to, if he remains fit all season, be the hammer of the year. He's absolutely brilliant. He's going to score a ton of goals and complement all these other players that Pellegrini has brought in. In fact, you could almost suggest that the team is built around Lanzini, and I certainly wouldn't argue with that. I'm just looking at a list. I've got my laptop in front of me, and here's who we've let go. Jordan Hugill. Now, whilst we haven't received a transfer fee, we're saving on his wages. Edmilson Fernandez. Reece Oxford has just gone to Augsburg. Marko Arnautovic, Pedro Obiang, Lucas Perez, Sam Byram, Samir Nasri. People forget about Nasri. Nasri has come off the wage bill as well. Adrian, Andy Carroll, Moses Makasi. Now, alright, so clearly he wasn't earning an awful lot of money, but there's some big earners in there. We know that Andy Carroll was on 80 to 90 grand a week. Samir Nasri was on a decent whack, 60, 70 grand a week. Adrian, I think, was on an awful lot, but he was on 30, 40 grand a week. But all of this adds up. Perez was on 70 grand a week, as I understand it. Reece Oxford on 20 grand a week. Fernandez, I couldn't tell you. Pedro Obiang was on, I think it was 40 grand a week. And of course, Marko Arnautovic was on a whopping 100 to 125,000 pounds a week. That's a lot of money. If anybody's sitting there with a calculator following what I'm saying, it amounts to a lot of money. Now, what is clear when you look that we've brought in Sebastian Haller. Now, some people say it's 80 grand a week. Some people say that it's 90 grand a week. Some people say 95. Let's say it's 100. Even if we say it's 100. Fornals, I understand, is on less than 50 grand a week. Now, you bring into the equation Roberto, who's not on very much. You've got David Martin as well, again, not on very much. Cardoso's coming in, and I believe... In fact, I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate, but it's not going to be very much. I don't think it's fair to say that we have spent saved hundreds of thousands of pounds off the wage bill. Now, a lot of people are complaining about that. Where's the money gone? What are we doing with this money? That's fine. I don't care, because I actually think, by and large, once we get another striker, a bit of striker cover, which I think we will do, once Cardoso signs, I think we've got a balanced squad. I think we've got 2 players for every position. That's fine. But there is something I want them to do with that money, and I think you know where I'm going with this now. That money needs to be given to Lanzini. Not all of it, clearly, but we must ensure that we give him the money that A, he thinks he deserves, and B, that we can certainly afford. It won't even take our wages back up to where they were last season. We could just give him Andy Carroll's wages. I'm sure that increase would be enough. The worst thing would be for us to go through down the legal route, because either we win or we lose. But actually, whatever outcome, we lose both ways. Even if we win, we're almost holding a gun to his head and we're saying, no, the courts have ruled that you're here for another 2 years, actually 3 years, isn't it? Just under 3 years. And he's not going to be very, very happy with that. We're going to have a disgruntled player. We're going to have an unhappy player. Much better to get his contract sorted, get him signed down, and get him committed to the club. And make it appear that it is done on his terms. And it would be partially done on his terms. But let's have a motivated Lanzini who's buying in to what Pellegrini is trying to do. I'm sure Pellegrini's system must be an absolute dream for any of these players to play. And I bet training's wonderful. But the very, very worst thing that could happen is that we lose him for nothing. Or worst case scenario, actually, that's a worst case scenario is losing him for nothing. What about a situation where actually it looks like we get to January and we can't actually enforce the 2-year option? What about if we get to January and actually he can sign pre-contract with another club? I think we'd all be absolutely gutted, and it would undo a lot of the good work that the club have done. There's no point Diop being worth 60 million. There's no point us making Declan Rice sign a long-term contract and tying him down and making an asset out of him worth maybe 60 million. There's no point in doing these things if you're going to allow a 50, 60 million pound player to walk away on a free. I'm sure the club are on it. They can't be that silly. I can't believe they're that silly. I'm sure they're in negotiations now. And I really hope that the reason they seem to be stockpiling a surplus of wages, and there is a surplus there, just look at those figures that I've read out. I just only hope that the reason they're doing that is to tie our best players, and I very much include Manuel Lanzini in that, into a long-term contract at West Ham. I feel if they do that, with the exciting team, with the exciting players that have come in, that would really put the cherry on top of what has been, I think, a pretty damn good window.